Today on Good Morning Alderaan.
Corrections from last week.
That's why pencils have erasers. Steve.
Mando gets top show nomination at the Golden Globes.
Congratulations, you Beskar beauties. Your move, Kenobi.
Obi-Wan responds with Mandalorian-style filming.
We'll save you a seat at the Golden Globes.
Potential news from EA.
Get your blasters ready.
And Bruce Valanche enlightens us in all things Wookiee, including the holiday special.
That Shriwook for Get Down, you nasty boys. Will Bruce and the boys shed new light on the holiday special? Should Life Day be a national holiday?
Find out and get ready for Lightspeed on Good Morning Alderaan.
Hello there.
He's no good to me dead.
We're fine. We're all fine here now. How are you?
I think you'll fill in nicely.
This is where the fun begins.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for news, reviews, and interviews from your favorite galaxy far, far away. My name is Pat. Don't call me Padawan Collins. And here is my co-host, the mayor of Alderaan himself.
Andy Hanlon here.
Well, Andy, we did it again.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
We did. Oh, boy. We had some audio issues. I'm hoping this pulled through. We got to sit down with the fabulous. I can't believe this is coming out of my mouth right now. We interviewed Bruce Valanche.
Bruce.
Holy shit. One of the original writers of the 1978 holiday special. Bruce Valanche, obviously, if you don't know his name, you've definitely heard his work. If you've watched the Oscars any time before 2014.
Ever heard of it? He was head writer for like 14 years. Head
Hollywood
writer
Squares.
of the Oscars.
Hollywood Squares with Whoopi and Gilbert Gottfried and not Rhea Perlman. Who's the other one? Caroline Rhea.
Caroline Rhea.
Caroline Rhea. Sorry, Caroline Rhea.
We didn't ask Bruce what square was he on the holiday special? What square was he on Hollywood Squares?
He was beside. So Whoopi had the center square.
Yeah,
because she was like the most commanding star power in the show. Bruce had the one immediately left to her. Stage left, is that what that would be? Like we from the audience would see him on the left, middle left square, because
to Whoopi's right. To Whoopi's right, because Whoopi was known as something of a firecracker, which we get into in the interview, and it was said that he could be the one to he was a calming presence for her because she knew him and she knew his salt and knew what he was like. He was good people. He is good people, but I guess she probably felt safer in his loving embrace on the left square. But then she had Gilbert Gottfried to the left of that, so who knows what they were thinking there. But the Hollywood Squares was just a very small fragment of the holiday special themed interview that we had with, again, Hollywood's possible premier jokesmith, Bruce Valanche. I can't believe we're saying that we interviewed Bruce Valanche. That was buck wild. Anyways, let's get right into this Sarlacc pit of a show that we have ahead of us here. So let's start off with our corrections. So immediately, I think it was the next night. I think it was the very next night. I checked the App Store on my Apple iPhone for Knights of the Old Republic 2, just to see if it was there. And sure enough, it is there. I think in the previous episode I said that it wasn't available. It was only available on a laptop or a desktop version of Mac. However, as of a couple weeks ago, it was uploaded into the App Store, available for all, for a reasonable price. I would say anyways, fairly reasonably priced. And then my beautiful little brother, Steven, comes along and says, "Hey, Pat, I got a correction for you. KOTOR 2 is available on the App Store. It was uploaded a couple of weeks ago, you fucking noob." And so I told my mom. It's coming from the guy that had a hand burned into his stomach for like 10 years.
I forgot about that for a minute. He sunburned his own hand onto his nipple just to see if he could. Just to see if you actually could sunburn something onto yourself. And yeah, we always joke that I think it was later that summer he had to get an emergency appendectomy. And we were wondering what the doctor's opinion would have been, just looking at his open chest on the table with his handprint, his own name, and a smiley face that were sunscreen stenciled onto his tummy from a day too long in the sun. And with our pasty pale complexion, 45 minutes in direct sunlight, no bueno. So he had
No bueno.
He had that tan for the better part of, I'd say 24 months. And yeah, I just wonder what that doctor's operating team was snickering at. And had iPhones been readily available at that time, I'd imagine we'd be able to see pictures online today. But them's the times.
Disposable camera was the day. Yeah.
It was. But yeah, thanks for the correction, Steve. I told Mom that you were bugging me and my podcast friends. And hope you like not having dessert for a week there, bud. Enjoy. Because you're going to be hearing from her. But
Mom.
Steven's bugging me and my podcast friends about Star Wars. Steven, leave your brother alone. He's having fun and making friends. He needs this.
He needs this.
Fuck me running. That's the only correction I spotted from last week.
I think I was fine. I think I was satisfactory and reasonably correct.
You had a clean sheet. Yeah, that was a one wiper.
I think so.
You're good. So. Okay, so topic number 2.
It was cool.
Cool. Oh, you are so fucking good at Nick Maley impressions. Oh my god.
It's cool. Yeah.
I'm cool. Make me Yoda now. Do the thing. I'm poking Andy with a stick right now.
Yeah.
Say the thing. It's cool.
Okay.
All right. Back on track. Mandalorian, congrats, you bunch of Beskar Baron beautiful bastards. It's the show's been nominated for Best Television Series at the Golden Globe Awards. Obviously hosted online this year, I'm sure. But congrats, the whole team. I think they're gonna win. Like they are essentially what floated Disney Plus. Maybe not floated, but like it took it from like a gradual kind of steady slope that it may have been. Like, they got The Simpsons, cool. They got, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, cool. WandaVision kicking a couple million asses, if I must say so
very
myself.
Good.
Very good. But this is Star Wars. We'll say that for other podcasts. The Marvel Minch, I don't know, fuck it. That's another podcast for another time. But the Mandalorian, I think, is going to win Best Television Series at the Golden Globe Awards. Likely hosted online, so it's not going to have the same effect. Unless I'll tune in if Ricky Gervais hosts any day of the week. But yeah, aside from that, I'll just read it better the next day, perhaps. But yeah, congrats to them. Moving right along here, we have a rumor of a new EA Star Wars game coming out later on this year. That's soon. For Q4 2021, it's been announced that this game has been in development for 2 years now, and it's rumored to be a small-scale shooter. So similar to along the lines of like what, for like it better for worse, for what Star Wars Squadrons was. I think that game had potential, but unless you have the VR headset, I don't think it's quite nearly the game that it was hyped up to potentially be. But it's small-scale. It's a multiplayer shooter. That's all we really know so far, and that's even just a rumor in and of itself. So it's something to look forward to. Got some more Star Wars video games coming along the line for you, Nuck and Ferds out there. Looking forward to some more Star Wars console content. The only thing is, it's not coming to Nintendo Switch. So if you have one of those, you are SOL.
Yep. That means shit out of luck. Just in case people don't know.
Ooh, you swore.
I did. I'm waiting for the PS5. Although apparently there's a recall on a bunch of PS5s. But I'm still gonna get a PS5 because who actually plays Xbox?
Sure would.
Sure, yeah.
He's not gonna listen to this podcast, but
he said he listened.
Hey,
Jolo said he listened.
Oh, thanks, Joel.
And I will let him know that we plugged his name. Jolo only lives once. So
don't
he's
we
gonna
all?
He's gonna end up buying an Xbox and a PS5. He'll probably get a PS5 before I do.
Who are we kidding?
He'll probably take the last one off the shelf.
He'd buy 2 just to make sure you don't get one.
Yeah, he totally would. He totally would.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
It's Obi-Watch! Andy, what do you got for us?
Well, not too much. I mean, obviously everything's a little bit premature. We're hoping for shooting of Obi-Wan in the spring. The one nice little nugget of information that we got, and I'm actually very excited for it, is some articles out there just showing that, or saying it anyway, that the Obi-Wan series will likely take a very Mandalorian-esque like filming style.
Okay.
When they shoot, as opposed to what I and perhaps some others feared, although I fucking love Revenge of the Sith, as I've said before. People are very, very afraid that it would look like the prequel trilogy in terms of dialogue and filming style. So we will not get the awkward, hopefully, dialogue and conversational pieces that were in the prequels. We hopefully will get more tasteful CGI than the prequels gave us, but get that Mandalorian type feel, which I'm very excited about, because I don't know if it was the last podcast or the one before we were talking about this. Might have been the last one. And I am hoping they go a little bit more serious, dark with the Obi-Wan, just the era that it's in, and kind of hope being lost.
A little somber.
And very somber. So I'm hoping we get, that style, made for adults type of shooting.
Yeah, I'm ready to be hurt again. I'm needing a little bit of I'm in need of a good cry. So I'm hoping this series really tugs at the heartstrings and gives us that kind of emotional resolution. Maybe emotional connection, not resolution, but that emotional connection between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, and to see what Obi-Wan's up to. Like, he's just pulling his pud in the middle of Tatooine Desert. There's got to be some kind of reason for him to keep going, aside from Luke, aside from just like creeping on this young teenager. So I'm very excited to see what comes of that, and very happy to hear, and I think Ewan McGregor is as well, based on this recent interview that I saw with him, that there's not going to be that same kind of blue screen haunting his background the entire time. He's going to have some actual, maybe actual is the wrong word, but like some perceptive set to work with that kind of.
Well, it says that they're going to be shooting in LA. Is that correct? LA?
I think so. Well, I think that's
LA.
where the soundstage is. This that I can't remember what the soundstage is actually called. There's a name for it, but it's that kind of like horseshoe kind of screen that they can kind of manipulate to suit the environment, as well as the ceiling above provides the same kind of lighting or similar lighting, and provides for a more authentic environment, which I can only imagine is easier for the actors to engage in and engage with and be like, okay, I'm actually here. This is how I can visualize it, so I can then, what does this place smell like? Well, I've already got the sight of it, so what do I think it'll smell like? As opposed to it just being a complete imagination game, as it would be with a big blue screen in the background. So, yeah.
That's all I got for Obi-Watch.
Yeah, well, thank you, Andy.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited.
We're only getting spoonfuls of information week by week, it feels like, but each nugget we're grasping onto for life and limb. But yes. Anyways, without further ado, here is hopefully that interview with Bruce Valanche. It's we can't thank Bruce enough for his time sharing some of the stories with us. What an absolute sweetheart.
And absolutely hilarious.
Like, just with his engaging personality style, you can tell why he's one of the most, or was, if not is still, one of the most sought after jokesmiths of Hollywood, because he's just so fun and engaging and easy to talk to. Like, there wasn't really, even when we were trying to set things up at the beginning there, he's still just filling in the void with little stories and little anecdotes, and just
what was
just
also
engaging.
cool is that he spoke to us like just regular people. I mean, this is a guy that, or a person that has, you know, rubbed elbows with very famous people. He knows a lot of people. He's lived probably a very good life, but he spoke to us just like his equals, and it was just very awesome experience.
Yeah, no, the guy's straight up gold. So any chance you can get to check out any of his stuff, look him up. He's he's working on a book right now, which we'll hear about. But yeah, he's just a straight up beauty. So please do enjoy this conversation about the formation of the Star Wars Holiday Special 1978. Now, our guest today is perhaps one of Hollywood's most established jokesmiths ever. He is a 6-time Emmy winner, a writer for the Oscars, yep, those awards, for 24 years, 14 of them as head writer. And on top of writing for those presenters and award winners, he's written jokes for dozens, if not hundreds of celebrities, even for presidents of the United States, and was even fortunate enough to write on the infamous 1978 Star Wars Holiday Special. Bruce Valanche, thank you so much for joining us today.
Followed by the Darth Vader theme. I mean, dun 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 dun.
Oh, like
we like to sing that when George came in the office.
Oh man, like I could only imagine the shenanigans, to say the least.
Remember, it was 1978, so we were chemically altered. You know, and I hate to say that anymore because I've said it so many times that now I get somebody sent me a review of the Lego special, in which they said, "Well, it's so much better than the Star Wars special, which was written on a cocaine high by Bruce Valanche." You know, where she got that from? I mean, yeah, we did stuff. You know, I joked that Carrie Fisher and I snorted the Sweet and Low.
You're going Colombian skiing.
No, I mean, we all know that Carrie had a real drug thing. I never had a drug thing. I mean, but I did what you did in those days, which was you had like a cocktail every day. You had a joint or you had something every day. So, I mean, it was fairly mellow, but it wasn't like we were, you know, chewing our bicuspids down to, you know, a nub and writing this thing. It wasn't like that. But it was part of the atmosphere, I have to say.
Well,
I have a few. Go ahead. I was going to say I have a few things to say about whenever anybody asks me about the show. If you since you're going to, right?
Absolutely.
I have to say the first thing is that had we known that what we were doing would be talked about 45 years later, we might have paid closer attention.
Fair enough.
It was just another one of those crazy television variety specials, and there were lots of them being done. I mean, I did Wayne Newton at SeaWorld, you know, where he sang to a killer orca. I mean, you know, there was like a lot of crap. I mean, it was network television at its last gasp of being exclusive. So
can you find that on YouTube? Wayne Norton singing to a killer orca?
No, and I'm desperate to find it. I think
yes.
I think he is like George Lucas, who tried to kill every copy of the Star Wars, and has bots who were like constantly looking, you know, trying to find bootlegs and getting rid of them, you know, banishing them from the internet. And I think that Wayne Newton has probably done the same thing. I think he's if Wayne Newton can be embarrassed by anything, it would be by that show.
Singing a love ballad to Shamu.
A love ballad to an orca, yeah. Shamu.
Free Willy, yeah.
Wayne meets Shamu. Make some magic, kids. So that's one point. And the other point I have to make, and people get angry when I say this sometimes, is that a lot of people thought Star Wars was a load of crap. In 1978, it was a movie.
Yeah.
It was a summer movie. It was a phenomenon with stoners and kids, because it was a great big blown up sci-fi movie, and it was like a Republic serial. It used all of those tropes from the old Republic Studios Saturday matinees where you come back every week to see the next installment. It used all of that stuff. And a lot of people in the industry were not wildly impressed by it. which you'll see when you look at the Oscar nominations that year, which so much of the technical stuff was nominated, but not so much of anything else. So, but I think it probably did get a Best Picture because it was such a phenom. However, it had not. George had not started doing Empire yet. He was in pre-production on the Empire. So, at the time that we did the show, Star Wars had not become Scientology of the nerds. It took three movies and decades of watching those movies over and over at home on VHS and later streaming and the internet before that occurred, by which time people discovered the Star Wars holiday special on the internet and said, what is this? How did we not know about this? And then they watched it and they said, how could you betray us this way, George? And so George, legitimately freaked out and tried to get all the copies of it destroyed. And of course, when you do that, it's like scratching a scab. It makes it worse. And then of course he made 3 more, 4 more, 5 more Star Wars movies. Every time he does one, it comes up again. So it's never going to go away. And George's attitude is. It's like Tevye when his daughter marries the Gentile. You're dead to me. Leave the shtetl. And it's the same thing. George is like, don't talk to me about this. This show is dead to me. So I say all that because sometimes, especially guys your age, approach it like, how did this happen? And, what were you thinking? And all that kind of, we weren't thinking. We were making a dumbass TV special from a dumbass movie. That was the attitude back then. And we were also all obviously cokeheads. So what did we know?
Naturally. Well, and that's where I think a lot of the emphasis on how could you let your baby become such, where a lot of the haters are coming from. Star Wars at that time was, as you say, just like it was it was a good movie. Sure, it was entertaining, it was fun, but it wasn't this cult. It wasn't this religion.
No, there was no. I love when they say, "Where does it sit in the canon?" Mm-hmm. I mean, there is a canon. I mean, the only element of it that is from the canon is Boba Fett, because Boba Fett went on, and Life Day, I suppose, which George invented for the special, or he actually he told me he'd written 10 stories. And he was going to film 6 of them. And 4 of the others he let out to other places. There's a novel that came out back then. I think A Mote in God's Eye. It may have been the title. Okay. It was a Star Wars novel. And this was the last thing. And he sold this to CBS as a promotional vehicle to tide things over until the Empire movie came out, to stir the pot. And I think 2 things. I think he felt that he was giving them an original musical that they would do something with, an idea for an original musical. He didn't know about variety specials. He didn't know from, Sonny and Cher, and he didn't know from Cole Porter in Paris with Connie Stevens. He didn't know from Raquel Welch singing and dancing and being shot out of a cannon. That was not his work.
Raquel Welch.
Not him. She
doesn't move her arms when she dances.
Yeah, she doesn't. She had a Vegas act too. It's fabulous. And the Muppets were the guests on the special. Yeah, that's true. And they feeling her up. That was my favorite thing, and that was a great big fight with the network censor. You can't have the Muppet grab her tit. I said, the Muppet doesn't know it's a tit. The Muppet's just touching her. Well, he can't touch her there. This was an actual conversation.
Oh, what a time! Take me back. Take me back.
Star Wars holiday special fits right in. Right, there's a canon for you. Network TV variety show. So George didn't know about this stuff. He thought he was selling us an original idea for a musical, but you would think if he was going to sell anybody an original idea for a musical, it would not star as central characters creatures who could not sing, speak, dance, or do anything but sound like fat people having orgasms. Trust me, I know. I know. So he would have, I think, had second thoughts about this had he known. And so we were handed this thing with these characters that couldn't do much but move around in these terrible costumes in a cheesy version of what looked like Star Wars sets, and they couldn't even do mime because the outfits were so cumbersome. All they could do was nod or use their arms or stuff like that. So it was really it was difficult to write around. Plus, they couldn't speak, and they wouldn't use subtitles because it was 1978, and they said nobody will read subtitles on television.
I think I think I saw a quote in just my research for this, like this battle between, and maybe battle is over exaggerating, but this conversation perhaps between you and George Lucas. I think that's what the article actually said. I think might have been just Wikipedia, but it said that, the biggest point of contention was that how can you have a story focused on something that you, the viewer, cannot understand?
Right.
So just like they speak no discernible language at that time.
Right. And I think he had used a couple of subtitles maybe in the movie, but I'm not sure. Now, of course, it's also, you see these late movies, Lupita Nyong'o doesn't speak a word of English in any of those Star Wars movies. She doesn't speak a word. She speaks Kashyyyk or whatever the hell. The Wookiees, it turned out, are speaking Kashyyyk. Did you know this? Oh, I found that out. If it's got a K in it and it's got double consonants, it's a George Lucas word. Anything George doubles up on consonants and vowels, and every the Wookiees have two E's at the end of their Anyway, so it's kind of like Hawaiian, which only has 12 letters in its alphabet, but not as pretty most of the time.
Not as eloquent as like a kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of that. That's pretty good though. I like that. But I guess so. My point was we had to have a lot of people translating. So we had Earthlings speaking English, and they would be translating what the Wookiees were saying. That was what Art Carney did almost through the whole show.
Yeah,
he was he would see Mala, who was Mrs. Chewbacca, and he would translate what she was saying. He would ask her a question, she would answer, and he would translate, so that the audience knew what was happening. That's how we moved the plot along.
Yeah. He's like this kind of, I was going to say greasy traveling salesman, but...
he's an intergalactic Tupperware salesman.
Essentially, isn't he? Yeah.
That's what he was. Yeah, right.
I also found
but of course, he was a friend of the Alliance. Yes. So he kept, he was also, that was his side hustle, was he was really working for the Rebel Alliance, and that he wasn't there so much to sell her stuff as he was to cover her, because they knew that the stormtroopers were coming looking for Chewie and Han and Leia.
The hooking.
What are your thoughts on Mark Hamill's makeup job in that holiday special?
I'm trying to remember
because he looks he looks very.
It was before the accident, I think, but he was wearing a lot of eyeliner and slap, and obviously, first of all, it was not the movie makeup people; it was TV makeup people, and they were probably trying to make him look as glamorous as they could. But he kind of looked like a chorus boy from Hello Dolly who had taken the wrong turn in Yonkers. And wound up on this set. It was very, very weird.
He's like a California surfer boy, but like
exactly right.
The wrong neighborhood kind of thing.
In the wrong.
Good on him.
He looked like a California version of Ken, the Barbie doll.
It's true. Yeah.
I love it. So now, as far as the story itself, how much freedom were you as the writers given? Were you given like a frame to kind of hang your hat from?
We were given an outline.
Okay.
And the first thing we had to do was plug in entertainment value, what they called the entertainment sections. We had to find places where we could put in guest stars and numbers.
Tick those boxes, yeah.
Right, check those boxes. So there was a lot of people watching TV. Mala was watching a cooking show, so we could do Julia Child with Harvey Korman.
Yeah, the forearms.
Right. And here's my favorite. This same reviewer who talked about Cokehead Vilanch said, and he had Harvey Korman in blackface. I said, what? What are you talking about?
Come on.
Blackface? First of all, he's a non-human.
His forearms.
He is a creature from another planet. And it's not even black. It looked black on my TV, the guy said when I wrote him about it. I said, you can't make these spurious claims. What's the matter with you?
Jesus, that's libel.
And Harvey's been dead for years. Why are you spitting on his grave with this idiocy? Anyway, so I won that round.
Yeah.
So and then we put in Diane Carroll as a fantasy of the old the silverback Grandpa Wookiee because that was supposed to be Cher, but she backed out and Diane stepped in. Diane came in and she was wonderful. She's so elegant and classy, and and I said it was the first interspecies, interracial romance on network television. Where's my NAACP Image Award? I used to joke with Diane, when are we getting that award for that groundbreaking moment that we did in the Star Wars special?
That was historical.
Where you and a Wookiee were having a moment. And then we had the kid playing with something, and that was how we got the Cirque du Soleil to do their first television thing, coming in. And then we had later on the kid watches Jefferson Starship. So we kept finding spots where we could stick entertainment numbers. And then, of course, when they go to Tatooine to the cantina, there's B.
B, Arthur, of course.
B as running the joint. And she insisted on doing a number. That was her deal breaker. Because B, was a Broadway musical comedy actress. She had been the original Yenta the Matchmaker in Fiddler on the Roof. Okay. And she had won a Tony for doing Mame, for playing Angela Lansbury's sidekick. And at the time, she was Maude, which was a big TV show, but non-musical. But so she was a huge name. And but she wanted to remind people that she had these musical comedy chops.
She had the pipes.
So she brought in a song by Kurt Weill and Bertolt Brecht. The Alabama song, you may know it because Frank Zappa and Mothers of Invention did. Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. And that was going to be, and B sings everything in the basement down there. And we had to clear it with Bertolt Brecht's estate, who said no. He didn't write this, so it should be in some space cantina fantasy. He wrote this as social commentary. So Ken and Missy Welch, who wrote a lot of stuff for the Carol Burnett Show, were writers on this, and they wrote her a song that sounded a lot like the Alabama song, and sort of kind of like Midnight, what's the Moscow song? Those were the days, my friends, we thought they'd never end. It's not that, but it sounds like that a lot. Yeah. But it was, Chad, it was very hearty and very... be in her Statue of Liberty period.
Yeah.
And
pretty Golden Girls, but
surrounded by all of these aliens, by all these dime store, these remainder aliens, because we couldn't get the original ones, and he wouldn't let anybody use the ones from Empire, so we had to get whatever we could scrape up.
Yeah, blow the dust off of whatever was laying around in the Muppets workshop, and a couple of prototypes that were maybe scratched up.
It was a riot. And we had a couple of recite gags, with serving them by pouring the beer down in the head.
Yes,
the head.
The cone, the beehive, but kind of with a funnel in it, basically. I'll finish my drink. Pours it in the top of his head.
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk about you, the person, when this came out and you started seeing maybe some of this negativity around it. How did you feel? Did you feel like hurt by it, or were you?
It aired the weekend before Thanksgiving, and it got a decent number. It didn't go through the roof, and it got some reviews that said this is ridiculous, and a lot of reviews that said this is just really crap. But that wasn't unusual for that genre. I mean, there were, and I don't think anybody was expecting it to be Baryshnikov on Broadway.
Star Wars wasn't the brand yet. It wasn't like this worldwide phenomenon.
Exactly
right. It was just a really good movie. So
it was just, isn't this curious how they're trying to take advantage of it? And the joke, of course, was it was George who was trying to, stir the pot. He wanted to keep things going. It wasn't. I mean, the network recognized that they had a built-in brand that would attract a certain audience, and but it wasn't like anybody was, jumping up and down to do it. So it. So I mean, I went on from that to another thing. It wasn't, there were. I did a lot of. I'm writing a book now about how I wrote the worst shows in television history and lived.
Yeah, well, I was going to say you're
the Brady Bunch Variety Hour and
right.
the Paul Lynde Halloween special, and I mean, I have a whole litany of fabulous pieces of shit that I wrote that I'm writing a book about. So here's to me.
Some of the shiniest turds in Hollywood there for you. Then maybe that's the name of the book. No, but I was going to say your career
polishing turds, but that just sounds so déclassé.
Your career obviously has not been marred by this by any means. You're so accomplished. You've done so much. It's
turns out it's been enhanced by it. Go no.
Right. Well, that's just it. And as you said, people are still talking about this 45 years later. And if you can make anything that people are still having conversations about, in this day and age, 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, then it's an accomplishment right there. And
there is something.
The whole family. I looked this up today. Of all the Wookiees and everything, they are canon now. They have extra long names. So Lumpy is now like Lumpawaru or something, and
Lumpawaru, but in certain scenes he's Lumpawalla.
Yeah, Lumpawalla.
Which they explained away by saying he's known on certain planets by another name because they don't speak Kashyyyk or some kind of horseshit that they come up with. When they're living in that fantasy world, they can say anything and they can
whatever they want. Yeah,
exactly, because it's like it's fantasy. They make up their own rules.
Well,
kind of like vampires. I mean, until Twilight, did you know that vampires could go to high school?
I had never seen one.
They were in coffins all day. I mean, who knew they could go to high school and they had a kind of a glow that made them look a little different, but they could do it. Who knew? She made that up, that woman from Utah. She made it up.
Yep.
Stephanie, who I talked to once on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
I did. I had a brilliant idea. I wanted to have one year the Oscar, the Writing Award, given by J.K. Rowling and Stephanie, I can't think of her last name, who wrote the Twilight series, because these two women were responsible for billions of dollars worth of gross in the movie industry.
Right.
And I thought, wouldn't it be great if these two writers came out who had created these things and kind of got the acknowledgement of that audience? And J.K. Rowling was all for it. And Stephanie wouldn't do it. I think Stephanie, because she's a Mormon and it was a Sunday and she would not go down and come to L.A. and be on television on a Sunday. She's devout.
Wow. I mean, good for you for sticking to your religion and your guns and your beliefs and
whatnot.
Well,
good for her. So she went home and she prayed on a pile of cash.
Yeah, honestly, like between those two, like
I worked with the Osmonds, so I understand Mormons are really, the Mormons are almost all fundamentalists when it comes down to it, and they're very, very, very serious about it. But I thought it was a great idea. I would love to have seen those two women come out. Now, of course, J.K. Rowling is very busy being canceled by everybody who used to love her.
Oh, yeah.
Because she doesn't seem to care for trans.
She's an X and a Y-er, isn't she? She's just like, it's this or that. I never met her. I taught her son for for a month and a bit, I think it was, when I was getting my teaching degree in Scotland. And of course, they place all the international kids at the bigger schools kind of thing. So me as a Canadian, I got to go teach at Irish school. And the teacher who I was with, I guess her and JK or Joanne, Joe, as she called her, taught the riding lessons or whatever. But from all I heard, she was
horse riding. Or?
Yeah, they were doing. I wasn't. No, they were. I was teaching their elementary grade 3 class.
I see.
But each teacher had to be part of a club. And so hers was the horse riding.
I remember when the books came out. I was on Hollywood Squares when the books came out, and we did a whole thing about them.
Oh, Hollywood Squares.
Yeah,
I love it.
But I like the stuff she writes as an adult under a different name. I think Robert Galbraith is her other pen name. Are really good. The C.B. Strike series is really good, and he's a detective with a wooden leg. Or something like that.
Okay.
Because in Iraq or Afghanistan. But he's Stars down here has, or maybe up there too, has a series called CB Strike. They've like 2 or 3 seasons of it, and this is something she created, and they're really good.
Interesting. I did not know that. Yeah, she's continues to create, but
Mm-hmm.
personal
she
aside,
wanted
she's a
to
good
separate
writer.
her YA stuff, which is Harry Potter, from the other stuff that she wanted to write. So it was grown up.
Yeah, no, I guess that's what you got to do. You got to separate what you're, and as a writer, I'd imagine you'd be able to have that ability because you're not quite as front facing. And speaking of front facing, I want to touch on that. How was your time on Hollywood Squares? Because I came home every day from school. I'd heat up a Pillsbury pizza pocket and I'd watch Hollywood Squares. That
you
was
and me both.
that. Well, I
more than one.
My brother for my birthday this year got me a cameo from Gilbert Gottfried because I'm an aspiring voiceover guy as well, and it just brought me right back to seeing you, seeing Whoopi, seeing Gilbert all in a line there. And like, what was that time like for you? What was that like? Was that as fun as it looked like it was?
Absolutely, it was. First of all, we only worked 36 days a year because we shot 5 a day. We would shoot a 5 on Saturday and 5 on Sunday every other week, and that was a great schedule. And well, you know, it's because I had a lot of people who were in production on other shows and they weren't available during the week. And the old show used to shoot at night, but they reverted to a weekend schedule because it was easier also.
Certainly.
But I was writing all the time, so it was like a full-time gig. But it was quite great because you'd show up in the morning and there would be, 9 people, 8 people including me, 9 including me, I had to go meet with each of them before we got started in the morning for a few minutes to go over the questions that they knew they were going to get. Right. And we couldn't give them any answers. And but we gave them a joke if we thought they were funny. And we gave them a bluff, which if they were like stumped, they could use the bluff because it sounded like it might be. And a lot of those questions had real answers anyway.
Right.
When they would ask a question. Dr. Joyce Brothers, you have no idea what the answer is. It's a hunch. Yeah. That's all. You have no idea. And all you have to do is agree or disagree. That's how the game works. Yeah. But if they knew that we knew the answers, they would agree all the time and there would be no game. So that was fun because I got to work with all these different people all the time. And then there would be lunch, at which we do 3 shows. Then there'd be lunch and we'd have some wine and go back into Thursday and Friday, which were great, very loose. But as it turns out, according to the marketing surveys, the audiences that watched the show, by Thursday and Friday, they were exhausted and they liked the idea that we were like a little loose. So it sort of played out. It played out very well. Yeah. And it was just a ball. I had a great time doing it, and everybody paraded through there because of Whoopi. We had a lot of bigger names that came on. We did a couple of comic relief shows with Robin and Billy, and big people. We had big people. We had big movie stars.
And you've written you wrote jokes for Robin Williams and Billy Crystal, and
I wrote jokes for them separately. I wrote for Billy when he was hosting the awards. The Oscars,
the Oscars, of course,
a lot of the Oscars. And then for Robin, I worked with just like general stuff, and whenever he had to do an award show thing, I worked with him. But Robin, as I say, they made a documentary about me about 20 years ago called Get Bruce. Produced by Harvey Weinstein, who never laid a hand on me.
There we go.
Hashtag why not me?
Oh, Jesus.
I can think of a few reasons. I would write the stuff for Robin and throw it in the cage. But a lot of it came out of sitting there working, coming up with stuff with him, because he was, of course, the most spontaneous creature on earth.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And he was just wonderful. I loved him. I wrote for there are a lot of people.
Yeah, like hundreds, if not dozens. Now I gotta ask, while we're on the Hollywood Squares subject, is Whoopi really as mean as a lot of people say she is online? Like
they don't know her. No, she's not mean. She's wonderful. She's warm and generous and all of that, but she gets pissed off. And when she gets pissed off, it's not pretty. But who is pretty getting pissed off? So the passive aggressive ones are the ones that make you really crazy because they never show you. But she's not. It's all out there. It's all, everything you see about her is real. That's
honest.
Basically, it's honest. It's been her calling card. What you see is what you get. She doesn't put on any airs. When she first started out, Dionne Warwick called her and said, "You have to change the way you look. You're setting Black women back 10 years. At the time, Dionne was involved with a psychic named Madame Cleo.
Oh, yes.
I said to her, you think she would have seen that coming 10 years ago?
Yeah, shoot.
You think Madame Cleo might have clued her in that there was going to be this girl from the hood who had dreads and all that? But, they always wanted her to be Diane Carroll. They wanted her to be Cicely Tyson. They wanted her to be some elegant classic actress who she never was. I mean, she was Whoopi, and she's a great actress, but she's as a personality, she's Whoopi, and that the strength is she doesn't hide anything.
It's open and honest, which I'd imagine in Hollywood would be a rarity in and of itself, because from my understanding of it, it's like
last year on The View, she had the hair from the Stephen King miniseries. She had white hair for a whole year because she was shooting this series off and on where she played a 108-year-old woman.
Oh, is that why? Okay.
Who's kind of a fantasy character. And then after she got done shooting it, she went back to, her regular, washed it all out, went back to her regular color. But I mean, I think, online people, it's narcissism central, the internet, it's just like, and people have no filter, and they see something they don't like and they fire off something about it without knowing really what it is, or there's no context. It's very distressing to me, because when you eliminate context, all you have is anger and immediacy, and it's not a good thing. People
no,
and a lot of the cancel culture is about that kind of thing. And the right wing takes advantage of it. I mean, they're going after Biden's press secretary now because she called Lindsey Graham Lady G. Well, everybody was calling him Lady G after the hooker he allegedly was with announced that that's what he used to call him. So, and nobody's ever proved that either, but it just kind of stuck. And they say, oh, she's homophobic. She's not homophobic. She's making a joke about Lindsey Graham. She's not homophobic.
Well, and that's another question I'd like to ask you is, what is your maybe opinion, might be the best phrase for it, but writing in Hollywood or writing in general today, what do you think that is like versus the time that you wrote the holiday special? Like, what is?
Then you had what they called standards and practices, which were fairly obvious, and you could work around them or you could negotiate. And now you don't even know that you're stepping on someone's toe. I mean, you have no idea you're stepping on someone's toe. They don't just say, ouch, you're stepping on my toe. They say, you're fired. You have no income from now on. You will be homeless. It's over for you. It's like before. I mean, part of the Armie Hammer, the fact that he comes from such a wealthy family, I think fuels the anger over what a bunch of women said that has never been demonstrated to be true or anything, and over stuff embarrassing stuff that we do in our private life.
That's just it.
That has been revealed, but I think the fact that he comes from a wealthy family gives them the agency to go after him with cudgels, because they know he'll be all right.
Yeah, that's just it. It's like for as much as people are opening up their lives these days with social media, it's like the opposite of a journal now, where people used to write in a journal and you couldn't read it. That was your own private thoughts. Now it's the opposite, where people put their private thoughts online and they get mad at you if you don't acknowledge it or read it. But at the same time, that's a certain kind of vulnerability, and people with no context, as you say, whatsoever, will come in and judge for this something completely
judgy.
Private, out of context, even completely. So.
Incredibly judgy. I mean, but it's what people do. I mean, for years and years, I've always been saying that for a lot of people, their only power is their opinion, and they're not, but they couldn't express it to anybody. But people who they knew who would say, oh, shut up. Now they can go online and they can make a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. They've been given agency by the narcissistic nature of the internet. And, it's kind of like, oh, wow, now we have power steering. You don't have to worry about if we can turn the corner of the car. Now we have power steering. We can do it. It's like everything adapts.
Certainly.
Now there are people who shouldn't be driving who are driving because we have power steering and no shift, automatics and power steering. So people who really are not qualified are behind the wheel. Back in the day, if you tried to get behind the wheel and you didn't have strength in your arms and you didn't know what a clutch was, you would die.
Yeah.
You got to walk before you can run, kind of thing.
Exactly right. This has been, the world has changed. And, and with it just doesn't, things change with it that you never anticipated were going to change. It's like side effects. Everything has side effects.
Yeah, cause and effect for every action. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to teach my son right now, is like the consequence of your actions, and how it's perceived by other people can affect you in the future. This is something you need to ingrain. I don't care if you're 7 years old. This is a good time to start learning that kind of stuff, that if you push and that person gets hurt, then how are you going to feel because of that? So it's
true. There are consequences. Even, the COVID vaccine, they say, well, you won't feel great for the next day. Oh, okay. I mean, it's all, I want the vaccine, so I'll live with that.
Yeah.
It's another version of that. I remember when I was during the coke fueled 70s.
Vagrant, you.
Yeah, exactly. One night somebody said, let's do peyote. And I had never done peyote. And people who were very mystical did peyote.
That's
and it
right.
was something that they'd gotten in New Mexico. And so they said, okay. So they came over with some peyote, and it was dirt. It was like dirt. You had to eat dirt. And so people are eating the dirt, all right. And now people are starting to throw up because they've digested, or it's gotten into their system, and it's whatever it caused. And I said, why are they all throwing up? And they said, well, that's part of it. It's like, if you can get behind the vomit, you go to another world. And I thought, I can't get behind the vomit.
I don't want to punch that ticket.
Right. And I was sitting there, I was trying. I thought, okay, I'll get over it. I'm sitting there sticking my finger down my throat, trying to throw up.
I want to play.
And everybody else around me, all around me in my house, they're going, whoa, just like Wookiees, all over the place.
That's what I was thinking, like Wookiee.
And they're all flying. They're all really stoned, and it just didn't take. And I wasn't unhappy about that.
Yeah.
But, this is what we did in the 70s, kids. Don't do it now, because now it's all meth, and you'll wind up, on Breaking Bad, the sequel.
Yeah, only true life stories.
Exactly right. Breaking Bad styles of the rich and famous.
But hey, maybe at that time they might.
At least back those days, cocaine was cocaine. Nowadays, you don't know what's in it. Scary stuff.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, there was always a danger that was coming. So, I mean, I didn't do cocaine. I mean, I never bought anything. I did it if other people had it. It was a road drug. It was the kind of thing.
Yep.
In Vegas, it was very good to do, because there are things to do in Vegas when you're loaded. There wasn't much to do in Oklahoma City when you were on the road with a band, and everybody got coked up, and they were up all night and going, well, what do we do now? We're in Oklahoma. Let's get Chinese. It's Oklahoma. There is no Chinese.
Yeah. DoorDash wasn't around. That was still a couple years away.
But I make myself sound like much more of a lounge lizard than I was. I was really working all the time, and these were all like sporadic episodes.
Yeah, pretty busy based on your resume there. That I've been able to tell. It doesn't.
I have it. But the joke is about the 70s and the 60s. If you can remember it, you weren't there. So it's true. But that wasn't 100% of the time.
Certainly. Well, I think now's probably a good time, Andy, for our game. We have a little game.
Before we do the game, can I ask us one question about going back to the holiday special? You had mentioned earlier about Boba Fett being the only character to stick, sort of in the subsequent movies,
right?
Like where did the idea? Because now even Boba Fett's coming back with the new Mandalorian series, and
where did that
come from? Boba Fett.
It came from George. It was an idea that he had, and he had tried to sell it as a full-length, an animated special, and he couldn't make the deal. So he did a shorter version of it with a company in Toronto called Nelvana.
Yeah.
And they did this 10-minute segment of the special, and it was the one thing that came out of it. And I don't know how long after that it took for him to introduce Boba Fett into a movie. Maybe it was the second crop of movies.
It was Empire. It was Empire.
He was in Empire. Oh, so right away he was in it. Okay, well then. So it dated back to that. But it's been an ongoing thing with him, and it was the one element of the show that he would take ownership of afterwards.
Naturally, of course. That shiny bit. Oh yeah, that's all me.
That's right. The anime.
You'll take that part.
Right,
but mind you, like, he gave him a pretty campy death in the next one, and I think George actually said at one point in one interview that if he knew that Boba Fett was going to blow up into the phenom that he was, he would have given him a little bit more of an eloquent death than what he receives, getting kicked by Han,
falling down a hole,
a giant anus in the desert.
Really?
Yeah.
That's where he goes with that huge swirling vagina. That
with the teeth. Yep, absolutely.
It's a leitmotif of George's. He's got vaginas.
He was hungry,
and
so he went diving.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Job of the Hutt, a part I could have played. Does Job of the Hutt go? He meets his demise in that same little swirling thing.
He does. Sweet little 5 foot whatever Carrie Fisher choked out that big old beast
in the bikini.
She's hanging on by the gold handcuffs.
Carrie Fisher in the bikini.
Right.
Yep.
Well, as I've said many times about the Star Wars version, it could have been worse. We could have given you Jar Jar Binks.
Pat, I am not a Jar Jar Binks fan. Pat here, he enjoys Jar Jar.
Really? I think it's amazing how much he looks like Barbara Streisand now.
Whoa, good call. Whoa.
She's had work and put them together, and there's a little, especially when she's got her hair, in like the floppy ear look.
Yes, when she's got her ears out. Wow, Babs. Boom, there you go.
There you go.
I love it. All right, well, Andy, what do you think? Should we get this game? Do you got your part?
Let's do the game.
Okay,
yeah.
so,
let's do the game.
So, Bruce, Andy is going to ask you a few questions. It's I'm sure you've heard of it, Mad Libs. We've got a little bit of a Mad Libs prepared.
I've done that.
So,
I do a Mad Libs show with people every now and again for benefits for things.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
okay.
yes. Sorry. Go ahead.
Good.
Oh,
okay,
and
this is just so you know, we tag the explicit tag on our podcast. So feel free to
so I can.
you can take the bridle out. You can.
Well, all right. In that case,
game on. Game on, sir.
Tits ahoy!
Tits ahoy away.
Okay, so here we go. We're gonna get started. A place or a proper noun?
A place or a proper noun? Climax, Nevada.
Climax, Nevada?
Climax, Nevada, yeah.
All right. Can you give us a number?
69.
I do.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
I do it.
Right up.
There could be a whole podcast on 69, and that's just saying. Just saying.
Why not?
Okay. Can you give us another number?
Another number, 47.
That's perfect. Adjective.
Funky.
And a noun.
Pudenda.
Pudenda?
Pudenda.
What's a pudenda?
It's a body part.
Is it a Wookiee body part from the holiday special?
It could be, yes. It actually could be. Or I could change it. We could do another noun. I could,
You could bring the holiday special back. You could
I could
recast it and reframe it. Yes. Can you give us an adjective?
Wait. Sorry, verb. Verb is next.
Sorry, verb. I missed verb. Verb.
A verb. Pumping.
And then an adjective.
Perspicacious.
You are a writer.
Yeah, exactly. It's a funny sounding words that no one knows what they mean. For 100, Alex.
Yeah.
Oh, Alex Trebek. God bless him. Canadian, Alex Trebek. Can you give us an adverb?
An adverb.
An adverb and then an adjective.
An adverb and then an adjective. Yeah. Haltingly. Wistful.
Okay. And another verb.
A verb. Why can't I think of a verb? Striking.
And we need another verb.
Mm-hmm. Another verb. Oh my God. Took. How about that? Simple.
And an adjective.
Smelly.
And a noun.
Bank teller.
An adjective.
Sparkling.
And another adjective.
Fetid.
And finally, one more verb.
Racing.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
What do you got, Pat?
Okay, so this is called Han's Best Friend.
I see.
Chewbacca is a Wookiee from the planet Climax, Nevada. He is more than 69 feet tall and 47 years old, with funky fur covering his pudenda.
Well,
Wookiees don't...
That's perfect. That fits.
It fits like a glove.
It covers everyone's pudenda. Let's go right in. Yeah.
Wookiees don't pumping like humans. They make perspicacious noises instead. They are hauntingly wistful and know how to striking and took. Know how to strike and take. Chewie is Han Solo's smelly friend and co-pilot of his bank teller ship, the Sparkling Falcon. I like that. The Sparkling Falcon.
I like that. That sounds like
Sparkling Falcon.
Right, from the Gay Air Force.
Oh, I like that. There we go.
Sparkling Falcon.
Together, they help the Fetid Alliance racing the Empire.
You needed an active verb. That's what I should have.
You know what? This I didn't look at the age on it, and when I was reading through it, I was trying to think of how to qualify some of these verbs. I obviously lack some of the verbiage to describe.
It should be. It doesn't matter. The thing is, when we do celebrity Mad Libs, when a bunch of us get together and do it as a fundraiser, it really all is up to the audience, and the audience generally comes up with the same stuff, every time. They want to be dirty, and so after a while it kind of like loses its edge because they also get bored with it. It's a weird thing. We don't do it too much, but sometimes somebody like them. Some charity says this will be great. I said, you won't be happy.
Yeah, careful what you're buying because you
trust me, you won't
receipt.
be happy. That's right,
for sure. Well, I think that's all the questions that I have about this this holiday debacle, holiday special. But I do want to know though, Bruce. I do want to end with knowing a little bit more about you, and I think we kind of went backwards with this a little bit. How did you get
Star Wars guys?
We are indeed, but we want to know the man behind the Star Wars as well. What got you first interested in writing in the first place? Like what brought you from youngster Bruce? What did you want to be when you grew up, and how did you get into writing?
Well, I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be a big star, and I was a child actor, but I was never a child star. Or, as I say, we'd be having this conversation in rehab.
Yeah, you did all right, kid. You did all right.
But I was always performing, and my parents recognized that, and they enabled it because they saw my mother was a big show business. She was a showgirl, but she never really had a career. But she loved it, and my father loved musicals, and so we were steeped in theater at our house. And so it became clear as I got older that I wasn't going to get cast in things because I projected much older than I was, and I was heavy and I had a deep voice, and I was reading opposite. I looked 40, and I was reading opposite people who were 40, so it wasn't really going to happen. So I started writing about it, and discovered I had a knack for that. And when I got out of college with a theater and a journalism major, I went to the Chicago Tribune as a feature writer and a movie critic, TV critic, and all that kind of stuff. And I met Bette Midler, who was starting out there. Mm-hmm. She was on Broadway in Fiddler on the Roof, getting married every night. And she used to go sing at the Improv down the street. And the guy who owned the Improv booked her into a club in Chicago. And so I saw her there, and I wrote about her. And she said, I said, you're very funny. You should talk more. And she said, well, you're very funny. What, you got any lines? And I started writing for her. And then that was the beginning. And I began writing for her and and her core group as they broke away. Barry Manilow was her piano player. Luther Vandross was a backup singer. Melissa Manchester was the first harlot. And everybody kind of went off to have these careers, and I was working with all of them. And after 5 years of that, her dresser, Fayette, had a brother who started the Manhattan Transfer. And we put their act together. She got them a record deal, and they got a television series, a limited summer show, replacing Cher, who I was already writing for. And so I came out here to the depths of Hollywood, and worked on that. And I never went back. I went back to close up Chicago, but I came out here and I was writing variety television, and that was only almost 50 years ago. Oh my God!
Holy
well,
shit, where did time go?
I met her 50 years ago, and as I said, she's only 38, and I'm contractually obligated to point that out.
Well, they just messed up her Wikipedia profile too, for all we know. So.
A lot. What can I say?
Yeah.
We've all leaned into our age. I mean, it's hard. The thing of it is, I had an agent who said you can cut off the bottom 3 pages of your IMDb thing. I said, but it's all real. I mean, well, it makes it sound much older. I can't hide. I was around. I mean, it's now you can't hide anything. Everything's documented. They throw up stuff at you from 1968. This is.
God, like I want to double down on that this obsession with youth is just something that's on the way out, needs to just evaporate.
Everything is tempered. I mean, the idea that people are out of touch because they're a certain age, and then you look at Lorne Michaels, who's producing SNL, and he's been doing it for 50 years. And he's in his 70s, in his late 70s, not out of touch. I mean, if he was so totally out of touch, the thing would have disappeared ages ago.
Exactly.
He obviously knows what people 20 years old are interested in. He keeps tabs on
relevant.
it. So
absolutely,
it's not it's not the age; it's who you are. And unfortunately, ageism sweeps everybody under that rug in this. The great race to equalize everything. I mean, I read today that the reboot of Sex and the City is the original writer, Michael David King, and they hired 5 women to write the show. And they're touting that. They're not, I'm sure they're all good writers, but the idea is they want people to know that it is being written from a woman's point of view. The guy in charge is the man because it was his vision originally. And I think, there's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with delineating those things so absolutely that it's anti-art. It doesn't let the full panoply of human experience show itself up because you created these barriers. And I understand that there were barriers before, but they were artificial and people kept climbing over them. And now you're not allowed to do that anymore because everything is so political.
Certainly,
right.
Where it's
end of my diatribe.
It's one that I'd like to explore some more at some point. Certainly, because as you say, it's you almost have to wear and go back to what it's like to be a writer these days. Like you almost have to be part of a team to look over your shoulder to get these different perspectives and points of view to say no, you can't say that. Well, why not? Because it might upset this demographic or this type, this group, this belief system. Things are so filtered and so censored these days to the point where, if you make a misstep, then the whole cancel culture is going to be up your ass in a very, and not the greatest of ways to, again, as you said previously, you're never going to work again. You're out on your street. See you later. Mm-hmm. Your time here is done. So, it's a very, I'll say, interesting time in the world, indeed, to be anything really. But yeah.
And then there's Schitt's Creek.
Oh,
oh yeah,
which has shown everybody the way.
Yeah, it's. I used to work for I was in tourism, which is why I'm now in podcasting, because not really a whole lot of stuff going on these days. But I used to work for a tour bus company. And my old manager, she had this idea to actually go for a bus tour because Schitt's Creek was filmed not too far from where we live. It's only about an hour away or so, at this motel that was recently purchased and I guess is being redone to be more like a movie kind of exhibit because that was the big thing. The purchasers, are they going to wipe it out completely and just make it something else entirely, or are they going to harness that, the Schitt's Creekisms image kind of thing and go off of that. And fortunately, they've gone with the latter. They have gone that way. So hopefully at some point, Bruce, we'll get you up and you can come see Schitt's Motel in all of its glory.
I just tell you a story that goes way back into the 70s when I was in Chicago at the Trib. The Mary Tyler Moore Show was a huge show.
Yep.
And it was set in Minneapolis. And they flew up to Minneapolis and they shot a bunch of B-roll with Mary, various putting her in Minneapolis things. And one of the things they shot was a house and they would go in on the second floor where Mary lived. And of course, this was the house that Phyllis owned, and Mary and Rhoda had apartments in it, and Phyllis lived downstairs. So, and this was part of the opening credits. And after the first couple of seasons, the show was huge hit. They wanted to reshoot stuff, so they announced they were going to go back up to Minneapolis. They called the people who lived in the house because they had originally they had paid them some money to shoot the house, and they said, we want to shoot the house again, and they said no. They said, we don't want it. In fact, we want you to get rid of it because it's become a tourist destination. It was a professor from the University of Minnesota who lived in the house with his wife and kids. And he said, and it's become, and we have people come up and they steal things and they knock on the door at 2:00 in the morning. It's become a tourist site, and it's on the Minneapolis Guide, things to see in Minneapolis.
Oh, no.
And it's not worth it unless, you want to pay us and ask for some ridiculous sum of money. We're not going to do it. And they said, all right, fine. And we're not going to pay you the money. And they then called somebody who they knew, and they said, what do we do about this? And they said, they're going to come anyway. Yeah. They said, well, shoot it anyway. We're just going to go up there and shoot it. It's, it's the public. Now that it's a tourist thing, we can just shoot it, and nobody, we don't have to pay them anything because it's like going to shoot, the Arch in St. Louis. So they sent a crew up. Right, it's not trash. So he found out when they were going to be there, and they sent up a crew to shoot it. And the day the crew showed up to shoot it, spray painted over the entire house were the words, fuck Mary.
No.
Mary sucks cock. Mary eats shit.
What?
And all of this stuff in like bloody red all over the house. This guy paid to have that done just because he knew that was the only way. That was the only way to stop people from coming to the house and to stop them from shooting the thing.
Wow, shots fired.
Shots fired. And they paid him. They gave him a lot of money, and they restored it.
Wow.
And they shot it, and then they worked out a deal where they got, because for his, what was happening to them.
The pain and suffering.
Their pain and suffering, they supplemented their income. So that may happen to the Schitt's Creek Motel too.
Oh,
maybe.
Wow! Well,
be forewarned.
Yes, we shall definitely keep you in the loop on that. Certainly, if we see any F-bombs on the front of Schitt's Motel, then no, cancel culture will take care of that anyways. People will snap it on their cell phone, and then that'll create a big uprising and a GoFundMe and a couple of parades, and it'll all get.
There are a lot of houses in LA that are listed on the star maps where people used to live.
Right. Yep.
And people put signs out in front saying they don't live here anymore.
that star map is out of date.
Right. Yeah. And of course, that's now an attraction. Everybody wants a selfie in front of that.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
What can I say?
House.
Let their mother worry about it.
Hey.
Not my problem.
Hey.
Buy a condo.
Really? Oh shoot. Bruce, thank you so much for your time. That's
yes,
wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've
pleasure.
This is far beyond the, I think, 15 to 20 minute pitch that I initially gave you, and we're happy to take up even more of your time, certainly. But we want to be able to have you.
Go.
We want to ask you back. We want to. We're on our welcome.
Ask me back. There'll be more. I'll have a book, and there'll be more stories.
Oh, I can't wait for
Beautiful.
that. Please put me down for a copy.
All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well, again, is there anything you want to give a shout out to or plug or
no? I got nothing
millions
to
of
plug.
Listeners? So
not yet. I got nothing to plug right now.
Keep an eye out for Bruce's book coming your way. As well as Get Bruce, 1999 documentary.
Yes. Netflix and chill. You'll have a good time.
Oh, there we go.
A lot of the jokes still work.
Yep.
And you'll see people Robin is hysterical. Robin and my mother are the stars of the movie. They really are.
I believe it.
They're both really funny.
I saw that in the review. I've not seen it yet. I've not found a copy that
I've not felt comfortable enough to go in the piracy deep web yet, but if that's what I got to do to get it, then by God, Bruce, then you just strap a peg leg on me and call me a pirate.
DVD. I haven't tried, so.
Yeah, but we can't thank you enough, Bruce. Like, honestly, just taking the time with us, and for some couple of little Canadians over here, it just appreciate just what you've contributed and what
I love Canada.
Giving us the time. Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Well, Bruce, thanks again, and let's chat soon. I do want to talk to you again, and I'll reach out to you and check how you and the pugs are doing, or Pug is doing at this point. So.
Pug lives matter. Pug lives matter.
Wonderful. All right. I'm calling Trudeau now to tell him not to audit your taxes.
Oh, bless you. I need it. Certainly. As a former tourism professional, I need all the help I can get. So. All right. Thanks, brother mine.
Okay.
Thank you, Bruce.
Take care, buddy.
Good night.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye. What did I...
Bye.
Holy F. That was fun. I know we kind of set you up for it, but Bruce kicks a million asses. That guy's a straight up beauty. Beautician.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was beautiful.
It's beautiful. Beautiful, Babs. Like Andy said before, this guy's rubbed elbows.
Like Babs from Entourage?
Yes, well, I meant Barbara Streisand, like his story with her and everything.
Barbara Streisand.
But yes, yeah, Babs. But like you said, this guy's rubbed elbows with the best of the best as far as like Hollywood comedy goes, and he's just chatting with us, a couple of nerds from Canada who can barely get their internet plugged in, and he's just engaging and entertaining, and he came out like. The whole interview went a little bit backwards. I kind of wanted to start at the start and say, like, where did you get your start in Hollywood, Mr. Valanche?
Well, it's kind of hard.
He just came out like, hey, you know what? I know exactly what you're after. You're looking for shit on.
He shot first. He shot first.
He took out any kind of ammunition that we could have. He's like Eminem in 8 Mile. I bet you he was a co-writer of that as well.
Mom Spaghetti.
Bruce's Spaghetti. That's what we should call this episode. Bruce's Spaghetti.
I was going to say what we should call it, but that's a good one.
Bruce's Spaghetti. Knees weak. My arms are heavy. Anyways, again, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in today. Andy, are you ready for that fun fact?
Oh, yes. I always love a fun fact, Pat.
You do indeed. So this one came to me via you. Thank you, Andy. So Ewan McGregor has a brother.
Special. Yes.
He has a brother, and
yes, he does.
His brother's name is Colin, and he is a pilot in the Royal Air Force in Britain. And his aviator nickname, so everyone has an aviator nickname. Tom Cruise was Maverick in Top Gun. His gunner was Goose in Top Gun. Like, everyone just has a call sign, an alias. So Ewan McGregor has a brother named Colin, and his pilot nickname in the Royal Air Force is OB2. Instead of OB1, OB2. Wow.
I don't know if that's fun, but it certainly is a fact.
Well, in that case, it's fun with a capital FU, because I love it.
Well, I found it, so...
I know it's just lazy on my part.
Compliment to me as well as a slight to you, Pat.
I've seen it before, you asshole. I thought it was a great meme, and thank you for bringing that to my attention.
The truth, folks, is that Pat didn't come prepared, so I had to come up with a fact last minute.
Well, the kimono is officially parted. Thank you.
But I was less involved in the Bruce interview because I wasn't as prepared probably for the interview as I should have been. So Pat bailed me there. So give and take, folks. Give and take.
I was just trying to steal as much of Bruce's time to be like, hey, Bruce, no, look at me. Don't look at him. Look at me. Hey, Bruce, it's me. I love you.
I think I could actually talk to Bruce more off recording than I did in the interview.
You did. While I was trying to figure out the back end stuff, you guys were like, I thought you guys were going to be besties by the end of it. Be like, so what's your number?
Maybe we should post the full length Bruce interview.
Oh, we will.
For next year on podcast day.
Oh my God, the behind the scenes, like, is this guy done fucking around with the behind the scenes audio stuff, or should I just keep talking? Like, that's in the back of Bruce's mind, I'm sure, while he's rambling on to
while he was Googling a medical procedure.
That will definitely be behind the scenes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, we've taken up enough of your time, folks. Thanks again for hanging out with us today. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and give us a rating.
Yeah, and you can find us on Instagram at Good Morning Alderaan. And if you have any questions or things you'd like to discuss, you can send to us an email at Alderaan@gmail.com.
Thank you so much. And on behalf of my co-host, I just want to say...
slow on purpose.
Drag for time. Yeah.
So people would hopefully actually send us an email.
Write it down. Get a pen.
Yeah.
You got a pen? Okay, good. On behalf of my co-host and I, thanks again for tuning in. And hey, always be a Jedi in the streets.
And a Sith in the sheets.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.